If traditional depraved horror movies no longer scare you, but Dr. Pimple Popper makes your skin crawl, then NightBitch will leave you terrified. However, if that's not the case, I wouldn't classify it as a true horror film. That said, Amy Adams delivers an Oscar-worthy performance in this movie, which everyone who has kids or has ever considered having them should watch. The film perfectly captures the darker emotions of motherhood and the moments when many new parents struggle to stay connected. Welcome to First Time Watching. Please like and subscribe as we dive straight into the explanation. The mother walks through the grocery store with her son, half listening to the endless stream of nonsense spilling from his mouth while quietly reflecting on her life. She suddenly runs into Sally, the woman who took her place at the art gallery after she quit to become a stay-at-home mom. Sally asks if she loves being home with her son all the time. She says that it's complicated, that she longs to feel content, but instead feels trapped in a prison of her own making. She feels societal norms and gender expectations have shoved her into this role where she no longer recognizes herself. It makes her angry all the time. She wishes she could channel these emotions into art, but her mind doesn't work the way it did before she had the baby. She fears she'll never be as intelligent, happy, or thin as she once was. But, of course, she doesn't say any of this. Telling the truth to a random acquaintance in the store would be too healthy and stress-relieving for a story like this. Instead, she shows her best smile and tells Sally she loves being a stay-at-home mom. Her days blur together in an endless loop, making breakfast, playing with her son, and counting down the hours to 1 o'clock before making dinner. Growing up, girls are taught to light a small fire within themselves, a fire they must control, keep contained, and never let burn too brightly. This fire, though, is what fuels them, protects them, and ultimately enables them to bring a whole new life into the world. A life that will one day look them in the eyes and pee on them without the slightest hesitation. Once a week, she takes her son to the library. There's a man with a ponytail who strums a guitar for the kids. It's one of those guys where you are just not sure if he just loves kids or if he really loves kids. But as a mom, she doesn't have the mental capacity to go there, because if there's one thing worse than your own child crying, it's having to endure the whining of someone else's untrained crap factory. She's not fond of other moms. She finds the idea of befriending someone solely because they also have children to be utterly pathetic. Still, she dreams of meeting one cool mom she can bond with over their shared hatred of the library's music sessions. That dream, however, is quickly shattered by yet another screaming, drooling blob of flesh birthed by one of these other women. As the session winds down, the guitar guy says goodbye to the kids, giving each one a moment in the spotlight to shout their name. Her son decides that today his name is Fuck. Loud and proud, he yells, "Fuck, fuck, fuck," while she feels like the worst mom in the world. The other moms suddenly see her as relatable. They approach her after the chaos is over, eager to connect. They drool over the fact she used to be in the art world, impressed that her art once graced gallery walls. But to her, that life is gone. She deflects their attention with a polite excuse. Her son needs his nap and they need to get home. We're treated to a montage of the endless struggle to get her child to sleep, all while the audience can't help but wonder where the kid's bomb of a father is during all of this. She blames herself for her child's poor sleep habits. She regrets letting him sleep on her chest as a baby instead of putting him down and letting him cry himself to sleep. If she had done that, he'd have perfect sleep habits now. He wouldn't need her so much, and she wouldn't have this deep, unshakable bond with him, a bond that makes him feel safe with her always. Instead, she imagines an alternate life, a clean kitchen, a good sex life, and a perfect existence undisturbed by the chaos of motherhood. The next day, while playing horsey with her son, he lifts the back of her shirt and screams,
"Mommy's fuzzy!"
She rushes to the bathroom to figure out what's going on. She finds a patch of white hair growing just above her ass crack. Her mustache is suddenly more visible. Her teeth seem sharper, and a lone, impossibly long chin hair has sprouted. Then her husband finally decides to show up. He works far away and spends most of his time in in hotels, seemingly detached from the chaos she endures daily. She tries to tell him about her strange newfound fuzziness and how her heightened sense of smell has returned, just like when she was pregnant. She complains that the cat's butt now smells even more revolting than before. Her husband, oblivious to her frustration, brushes it off with a half-hearted joke, teasing her with, "Oh honey, this is real. It's definitely not all in your head." At night, before bed, she confesses that she can't even remember the last time she washed her shirt. "I'm the housewife I never wanted to be," she says, exhausted. "I feel like I'm constantly on suicide watch for a drunk little midget." Her husband delivers the ultimate counter-argument. At least staying home is better than leaving their son with those awful daycare ladies. She reluctantly agrees. He shuts the bathroom door a little too loudly. She snaps, warning him that if he wakes their son, she'll rip his throat out. She considers getting a part-time job, but the cost of a sitter would match or exceed what she'd earn. She accepts that she simply has to survive until their kid starts school. Her husband casually tells her that he would kill to stay home with the child full-time, but she disagrees. Despite everything, she's relieved he's home because, at least for a little while, she can relax. Or so she thinks. It's daddy bath time, but instead of truly taking over, he proves his incompetence. Sitting on the toilet, scrolling through his phone, he repeatedly calls her in to hand him things. Frustrated, she storms into the bathroom, throws a towel in his face, and tells him, "When you're gone, I do this by myself every day." That night, when their son wakes up, she lashes out at him for not getting up to help. By morning, he has the audacity to ask if she's made coffee yet. She replies no and asks him to make it, but he can't even manage that. At this point, it's becoming clear how exhausting her reality is. He brings up her nighttime outburst. She tells him yes, she was a bitch. She is NightBitch. But the weekend is over, and he's off again to enjoy 4 uninterrupted nights of sleep. Before leaving, he tells her not to stress so much and suggests adding more structure to her day, referencing an article he once read. He then proceeds to mansplain how to handle sleep deprivation while raising a toddler. She fantasizes about smacking him for his unsolicited advice, but instead just says thank you. Later, at the park, she Googles her strange symptoms when a pack of dogs approaches her, sniffing curiously. Memories of her mother resurface. Her mother, who once told her she could have been a famous singer in Europe if she hadn't given up her dreams to raise children. She wonders why her mother's memory keeps surfacing now. In the bathroom, she checks on her backyard soul patch, only to discover a giant pimple has appeared in its place. She grabs a needle and pops it. Pus gushes out and drips down her butt crack, revealing an ungodly amount of hair trapped underneath. It's the worst ingrown hair she's ever seen. Already in a spiral, she tortures herself further by looking through her old portfolio, reminiscing about how talented she once was. More memories flood in this time of her grandmother, who dabbled in some form of voodoo magic. That night, she wakes up, not because of her son, but because of barking. Outside, her door stands a pack of dogs, seemingly waiting for her. Instead of being friendly, they attack her. She wakes up, heart pounding, realizing it was just a dream. While making breakfast, her son finds a dead mouse. When she tells him to put it down, he runs off with it. She chases him to the front door, only to find a pile of dead animals arranged as if they were offerings. Already feeling unhinged, she decides to visit the library to research women transforming into animals. The librarian immediately knows what she's looking for and hands her a book titled Field Guide to Magical Women. That night, she reads about the bird women of Peru and how they connect with their inner animal. She dreams about the concept, finding some peace, until her kid took a dookie in his own hand and wakes his mom up to show it. The next day, she takes him to the mall for lunch. Her fork breaks, so she decides to eat in a more primal, animalistic way. Her son joins in, and for the first time in a while, they both have fun. Their wild eating draws judgmental stares from other parents, but Norma, the librarian, approaches them with a smile. "Playing dogs is so much fun," she says. "I used to do it with my son all the time." It's clear Norma knows something she hasn't yet discovered. Before she can ask for advice, Norma slips away, leaving her with even more questions. The week is over, and Daddy is finally home for the weekend. That means Mommy can finally take a shower. But as she's undressing, she notices 6 new nipples on her belly. She is literally turning into a dog. Later, while Mommy tries to put the kiddo to bed, the little shit refuses to sleep. Meanwhile, Dad is on the couch, playing video games, which sends Mom into a silent rage. She fantasizes about jumping on him and shredding him to pieces, but instead, she simply tells him it's his turn to do night-night. After he eventually manages to put their son down, he picks what is perhaps the worst possible moment, right after she started her period, to ask if she wants to do it. Her immediate response is, "Oh God, no." His fragile ego takes a hit, so she apologizes and explains that she's in terrible pain. She also mentions that she now has 8 nipples and fears he'll find her repulsive, but his short attention span already left the room after the rejection. She reads more from her book about mythological creatures that are both caregivers and beasts. It reminds her of a night from her childhood when her mother left the house and ran away on all 4s. She wishes she could ask her mother all these questions. How did she deal with the anger, the resentment for all the things she didn't do? How many women have delayed their greatness while the men around them had no idea what to do with theirs? And most importantly, did her mother ever regret becoming a parent? As a family, they visit a museum where she confesses to her husband that she realizes she's no longer an artist. Instead, she's been focusing on all the things she's not doing rather than embracing being a mom, a role she actually loves but doesn't give herself enough credit for. But then her husband says the one thing he absolutely shouldn't, if that's what you want. Her respect for him is fading fast, and he doesn't even realize it. That night, she hears the neighborhood dogs calling to her again. She steps outside and starts running on all 4s. Following a scent, she begins digging in her backyard. Slowly, more hair sprouts on her body, and her teeth lengthen. She rips off her clothes, fully transforming into a dog. She runs through the streets, feeling the freedom against her skin. She kills a badger and buries it. Later, she showers the dirt off, and her husband joins her. For the first time in ages, they make passionate love, doggy style, of course. The next day, Daddy leaves for work again, and Mommy begins a new game, play dogs. For the entire week, she and her son behave like dogs. He even tries drinking from the toilet. She puts him to sleep in a dog bed, and for the first time in forever, she enjoys an uninterrupted night's sleep. Finally mustering the strength, she visits the ponytailed weirdo at the library. On her way in, she thanks Norma for recommending the book. After enduring the ponytail guy's session, the other moms invite her to join them for their morning hike. She's not entirely sold on the idea of long walks, but discovers that these women share similar struggles. She opens up, saying that becoming a mom is incredibly hard without a village of support. If that isn't challenging enough, popular culture mocks mothers, leaving them feeling like failures. The other women share their birth stories, describing the experience as raw and animalistic. For the first time, she feels truly heard and connected. Together, they recognize their power. They are the creators of life. The following weekend, she finds herself explaining to her husband why their son is eating from a dog bowl, while she absolutely loves the new perks of their kid, acting like a pet. His dad wonders if this might be a little confusing for the little bastard. Sure, it's unconventional, but she disagrees. This is the first time in 2 years she's been able to get decent sleep. Her back no longer aches because she's finally getting enough exercise, and she's just trying to have some fun. Her husband, however, is a bit uptight about the whole thing, so they get intimate and he starts to loosen up. That said, she's noticed she's become a little murdery toward the cat ever since this whole dog thing began. But overall, they're actually doing much better as a family since starting the dog play. She even made a schedule, following her husband's mansplaining advice. Tonight, for the first time since their son was born, she's going out to have dinner with adults. She checks in with her husband to confirm he hasn't forgotten. "Of course not," he says. "I'm babysitting." "It's not called babysitting if it's your own kid," she replies. But the dinner is a total buzzkill. Sitting with her old art friends, she's reminded of how she feels like nothing more than a middle-aged, saggy cow with repressed talent wasting away inside her. She has nothing interesting left to say. When she chokes on her crappy salad, it's the final straw. She jumps up and starts barking at her friends. Then she announces she can crush a walnut with her vagina, steals a burger off a random guest's plate, and storms out of the restaurant. She runs into the night, transforming into a dog as she races through the city streets. For the first time, it's clear to her. She wants to run and never return. She wants to be an artist, a woman, a mother. She wants to be a monster. The call of the wild grows louder each night. Neighboring dogs bring her offerings, recognizing her power. That's when it happens. She kills the cat. The act terrifies her. At the playground, she momentarily loses sight of her son, only to find him far from the play area, sitting in the grass. When her husband comes home, he's upset she didn't tell him the cat died. "I could have helped," he says, but she snaps back that she's gotten used to doing everything herself. This confrontation puts things into perspective for her. She realizes she's not okay. Her husband was so quick to accept her decision to give up art. Instead of questioning her or encouraging her, he immediately agreed. Of course he did. It meant he'd get exactly what he wanted. A stay-at-home mom, just like his own mother. She's stuck in a job with no pay, no vacations, and no appreciation. A job that includes washing his underwear. She feels trapped in a 1950s-style marriage, where all she does is care for their son, her husband, and that stupid dead cat. Her husband defends himself. "It was your idea to quit art in the first place," she counters. "I agreed to quit, but I had no idea what I was agreeing to. I didn't realize I'd feel like a single parent with zero help, giving up all my dreams." He's stunned. He had no idea she felt this way. "I didn't want this either," he admits. "I didn't want to feel resentment every time I came home. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I'm not a mind reader. If you tell me you're fine, I believe you. And when you said you wanted to quit art, I thought I was supporting you." He asks her where the woman is. "He married." She looks at him and says, "The woman you married? She died in childbirth." After cooling off, she tells him they need to separate. She needs space to figure out how she feels and what she needs. He asks her if she regrets having a child. "No," she replies, "but if I could go back, I'd make sure we figured out a more equitable way to handle parenting." He says he would have been open to that, but it's too late now. The next morning, he packs a bag and leaves the house. She returns Norma's book to the library, only for Norma to tell her it isn't theirs. "I remember those days," Norma says. "When my kids were little, I couldn't keep anything straight. No sleep, just holding them through the aches and bad dreams. It's enough to drive anyone crazy." The mom tells Norma that she did not think Norma would have kids. Norma asks, "Don't you recognize it? You look into the eyes of another woman, and you see the flickering fire, the pain, the sacrifice, the primal bond of everything you've given up to continue the species. It connects you to something deeper." Finally, she lets go. She joins the book club Moms for Wine and Gossip. When one mom asks how things are with her husband, she admits, "We were stuck in a toxic dynamic. I wasn't happy, and I killed the cat. So, no, I'm not great." Another mom confesses she let her fish die. Someone else killed her parakeet. So they are all killing this parenting thing. The following weekend, Daddy stays in a hotel, and it's his turn to watch their son. She says goodbye, wishing him luck. With her free time, she picks up painting, but can't shake the feeling of missing her son. She goes for a run while Dad adjusts to the challenges of 24/7 parenting. Eventually, she dives into her art. By the weekend's end, Dad returns with their son. She asks how it went. "It was good," he says. "It was really good." "No, it was hard," he admits. He asks how her time was. "Wonderful," she replies. She seems more relaxed and inspired, with fresh ideas for her work. As he adjusts to his new reality, he mentions his sad apartment complex filled with newly divorced dads and confused kids sitting around the pool, wondering where their mommies are. All she can think about are those sunburned kids because no one brought sunscreen. She takes her son to the dog park and sees her pack in the distance. She sends them away, as if saying she doesn't need her survival instincts anymore. She's doing fine. She remembers her mom coming to her bedside after being gone, saying, "I'll always come back. I'll always be your mom." She wishes she could go back in time and tell her mother, "Have joy in life. Do it for yourself and your child, because time is short. Motherhood isn't weak. It's primal, brutal. A child's first act is violence against the woman who creates it. Yet the mother loves them with the most powerful love in the universe." And as for her art show, she paints her mom friends, capturing the raw, animalistic essence of motherhood. Her art friends are amazing amazed by her talent. After her exhibit, she finds Norma and Norma tells her, "You did it. It called, and you answered." Alone with her husband after the exhibit, he admits, "I didn't get it. I didn't see what you were giving up. I should have told you not to quit. I fucked up, and I'm sorry." She hugs and kisses him, and they say they love each other. They move back in together, and 9 months later, they welcome their daughter into the world. And that's a wrap. NightBitch is truly an important film, not only for men to better understand their female counterparts, but also for women to learn how to express their feelings more effectively, as well as how men may interpret their way of communicating when it's not conveyed clearly. It also highlights the hormonal imbalances and primal urges that come into play after giving birth, while reminding mothers to embrace joy and have fun. The most important thing you can do for your child is to maintain happiness and stability with your partner, as children learn from your dynamic and mimic your actions. The movie struggles with an identity crisis, being marketed as a horror comedy. While it does contain both elements, it's also a drama and so much more. Despite this, it's definitely a must-watch.